The sun rose gently over the calm sea, casting a soft golden light across the shoreline. To anyone far away, it would have looked like a peaceful morning, calm, inviting, serene. But for the men of the Santa Maria, the sunrise carried only one question: will they return? The warriors, the chanting in the night, the burning fires among the trees, all of it remained etched in their minds like a shadow they could not shake. Columbus had been awake long before dawn. He walked the deck slowly, eyes fixed on the distant beach, scanning every shadow, every tree, every movement. Pinzon joined him. "Did you get any sleep, Admiral?" "Not tonight," Columbus replied. "Today will decide everything." The crew emerged one by one, exhausted, pale, their nerves frayed. Some clutched rosaries, others stood quietly, staring at the shore with dread and anticipation. Della Cosa approached with a map rolled under his arm. "If we are attacked, we hold the advantage at sea, but on land we are exposed." Columbus nodded. "That is why we must proceed carefully. They did not strike last night, and they will not strike today if we act with respect." But even he didn't sound sure. Just as the sun rose completely above the treetops, a sound drifted from the shore. Laughter, soft, distant laughter. The sailors rushed to the ship's rail. There, on the beach, they saw familiar figures. Children running, playing, throwing sticks into the waves, splashing in the shallow water. Pinzon let out a long breath. "If the children are here, that means we were accepted." Della Cosa was more cautious, or the adults want to see how we react. Still, the presence of the children eased the tension. The crew began to breathe again. Minutes later, the village chief appeared on the shore. This time he was accompanied not by warriors but by 4 unarmed men. Villagers.com/composed. They raised their hands toward the ship in the same peaceful gesture as the day before. Columbus made his decision instantly. "Prepare the boats. We're going back." The sailors hesitated. "Admiral, are you sure?" Columbus nodded. "If we retreat today, we lose everything." They offered trust. "We must return it." The boats cut through the calm water with slow, cautious strokes. When the Spaniards stepped onto the sand again, the children approached them first. The adults gently guided the little ones aside, but they did not push them away. The chief approached Columbus, touching the admiral's shoulder in a gesture of recognition. Columbus mirrored the gesture respectfully. The tension of yesterday had softened, but the caution had doubled. The villagers brought forward baskets filled with polished shells, bright feathers, fresh fruits, carved wooden figures. Columbus offered glass beads, metal bells, and strips of colorful fabric. The villagers reacted with awe. They examined each object with wonder, holding them to the sunlight, showing them to the children. These exchanges were not trivial. They were a silent diplomacy, a fragile negotiation, a test of intentions. But something felt wrong. One sailor whispered, "The warriors from yesterday." "I don't see them," another murmured, "which means they're watching." The tree line seemed still, yet as still, as if shadows were holding their breath. Columbus noticed it as well. Something or someone was out there. The chief gestured again, inviting the Spaniards to follow him toward the village clearing. This time, the procession felt different. The steps were measured, the rhythm deliberate. The villagers walked ahead. The Spaniards followed, observed from all sides. Pinzon whispered, "They're testing us." Della Cosa replied, "They want to know if we understand respect," and every step forward confirmed it. When the Spaniards reached the clearing, they were stunned. The villagers had prepared a space, a large ceremonial circle decorated with leaves, flowers, and painted wooden structures. Men and women gathered around, holding drums fashioned from hollow trunks, bowls of fragrant smoke, ornaments made from feathers and seeds. This was no ordinary gathering. It was a ritual, and it had been prepared for them. The drums began, slow, rhythmic beats that echoed through the trees. The smoke rose in spirals, carrying a sweet, earthy scent. Women danced around the fire, moving with fluidity and grace. Men chanted, their voices blending with the sound of the wind. The Spaniards had never witnessed anything like it. Some watched in awe, others tensed, not sure what it meant. Columbus remained composed. He recognized diplomacy when he saw it. This was no threat. It was a welcome, a ceremony of acceptance. But as the ritual reached its peak, one villager suddenly stopped drumming. He looked toward the forest. His expression changed. The chief noticed immediately. The drums ceased. The dancers froze. Silence fell. The warriors had returned. They did not enter the clearing. They remained at the edge of the trees. Shadows behind the leaves, Pinzon whispered. "They're watching. Measuring our worth," Della Cosa added, "or waiting for a mistake." Columbus inhaled deeply. "Then we will give them none." The ritual slowly resumed, but the air had changed. Every beat of the drum felt like a negotiation. Every step of the dancers like a promise that could be broken. The clearing felt like the heart of the island, still, heavy with meaning. The sunlight filtered through the high canopy in thin golden spears, illuminating the painted stones in the center like a spotlight from the heavens. No one spoke. The guides stood silently. The chief waited, eyes calm but firm. And the Spaniards, they felt as if they had stepped into a cathedral without walls. Something sacred lived there, and they were being allowed to see it. Columbus approached cautiously. He felt the weight of the moment, heavier than any crown or royal seal. The The stones around the clearing were marked with symbols, spirals, lines resembling waves, geometric patterns repeating like echoes. Some stones had been polished smooth, others held rough carvings that seemed ancient. Pinzon whispered, "It's a holy place. I can feel it." Della Cosa nodded. "This is where their world speaks to them." The Spaniards lowered their voices instinctively as though stepping into a place where loud words weren't allowed. The chief stepped into the circle and knelt. He placed both hands on the ground, then lifted them to the sky. The young guides mirrored the gesture. Columbus understood. This was a ritual of connection, earth and sky, people and spirits. Pinzon murmured, "Admiral, I think he wants you to do it too." Columbus hesitated. This was not part of any Christian ritual. It was foreign, pagan, unknown. But he saw the eyes of the chief not demanding submission, but inviting understanding. So Columbus knelt, placed his hands on the earth, then raised them upward. A soft murmur of approval spread among the villagers. Even the forest seemed to exhale. Despite the harmony inside the clearing, the Spaniards could still feel the tension beneath it, like a rope pulled tight between two worlds. The warriors remained hidden, but everyone sensed them. Their absence in the open made their presence even stronger. The chief saw the anxiety in the Spaniards' faces and gestured toward the trees with a reassuring motion, a signal that meant, "You are safe here for now." But for now was the key. No one forgot that. One of the young guides stepped forward holding a small woven pouch. He opened it and poured its contents into his palm. Seeds perfectly round, glossy, colorful. He placed a few into Columbus's hand, then pointed to the ground, then to the sky, then to the sky, then to Columbus's chest. Della Cosa interpreted quietly, "Life, growth, and you." Another villager offered a stone carved into the shape of a bird. Another brought a feather with vibrant blue streaks. These were not gifts, they were meanings. Each object was a piece of their world, a story, a prayer, a memory. Columbus accepted each item with reverence, understanding that these people communicated not just with words, but with symbols. The chief motioned toward a patch of earth beside the circle. Two villagers stepped forward and dug a shallow hole with careful movements. Then they handed Columbus one of the seeds. Pinzon whispered, "I think they want you to plant it." Columbus knelt again and placed the seed into the soil. The villagers covered it with gentle hands, pressing the earth firmly. The chief then stepped forward and pressed his palm to the ground above the buried seed. Columbus copied him. The chief nodded in approval. Pinzon exhaled, relieved. "You passed the test, Admiral." Just as the atmosphere seemed to be settling, a new shape appeared at the edge of the trees. A warrior not hidden, not watching, stepping out, visible. His face was painted differently from the others. Sharp white lines across his cheeks, a streak of red across his forehead. His spear gleamed in the angled sunlight. The ritual paused instantly. The drumming stopped. The chanting fell silent. The villagers froze. The warrior stepped forward with deliberate slowness, just enough to show he was not attacking, but also not greeting. Pinzon's hand twitched toward his sword. Della Cosa grabbed his wrist harshly. "No, not here." The warrior spoke, but not aggressively. His voice was low, rhythmic, serious. The chief listened with narrowed eyes. The warrior pointed to the forest, then to the beach, then to the Spaniards. Whatever he was saying, it was urgent. Pinzon whispered, "What is he saying?" Della Cosa shook his head. Could be danger, could be news, or a warning. The chief stepped toward the warrior and responded firmly. For a moment, the Spaniards feared the argument from the previous day would begin again. But the warrior's expression softened slightly. The chief placed a hand on his shoulder. Some kind of agreement was reached. But what agreement? No one knew. The chief turned to Columbus, gesturing for him and his men to follow him further into the forest. Columbus hesitated. Pinzon hissed, "This is insanity, Admiral. We don't know where he's taking us." But Columbus's instinct told him something different now. This was not a trap, it was a threshold. "We go," ele respondeu calmamente. The villagers opened the path. The warrior remained at the edge of the clearing, watching, silent, unreadable. The Spaniards followed the chief deeper into the unknown. The trail narrowed. Trees rose high above, filtering the sunlight. The air felt warmer, thicker, filled with the scent of sap and flowers. Birds scattered overhead. Insects hovered around their legs. The forest seemed to breathe around them. Every sound, every crack of a twig, every rustle of a leaf made the sailors tighten their grip on their nerves. One of them whispered, "Are we walking into the belly of the island?" Another replied, "Or into its heart." Columbus pressed forward, eyes sharp, senses heightened. The chief walked confidently, unfazed by the growing density of the forest, and then they reached a place unlike anything the Spaniards had seen before. The trees cleared just enough to reveal a massive stone formation partially covered by vines, decorated with pigments, carved with symbols even older than the village. Faces, spirals, creatures, stars. It was ancient, much older than the villagers themselves. Pinzon murmured, What is this place?" Della Cosa stared in awe. "A shrine, a memory carved in stone." The chief approached the largest stone and placed his hand on one of the carvings, a symbol resembling a sun with many rays. He turned to Columbus. His eyes were serious, purposeful. This was not just trust. This was a revelation. something the villagers didn't show to just anyone, something sacred, something dangerous to misunderstand. Columbus felt the weight of history pressing against his chest. He whispered, "Why? Why show us this?" But the chief only gestured again to the symbol, the sun, the center of their world. The meaning was clear, even without words. You entered our world. Now you must understand it.